Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Burn Boot Camp podcast. If you are here to change your life, you are in the right spot. Today, we are talking about mental health and answering the central question, what to do when feeling depressed. We're not PhDs, we're not neuroscientists, we're not psychologists, but what we are is practical human beings that deal with this stuff, the same question you're asking yourself, ourselves, and we're here to just help you talk through it, give you some insight, let you know that you're not alone. So tune in today as we answer the question, what to do when feeling depressed, here on the Burn Boot Camp podcast. Welcome to the Burn Podcast, where strength meets science, food fuels energy, and mindset creates momentum. I'm DK, your personal trainer, and I want you to train, eat, and think differently. So get ready to take your health and fitness to the next level here on the Burn Podcast. Let's get to work. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 12. And, we're answering kind of a heavy question today on the podcast, Trish. It's what to do when feeling depressed. And it's kind of a sad question to even ask in the first place, but a necessary one. And why is it a necessary one? Because, life is mostly tragedy and dealing with how to not fall into the depths of hell as chaos is ensuing around you, and how to handle the suffering and really find meaning in the tragedy of life as life keeps coming. And it will keep coming, wave after wave after wave after wave, and it doesn't stop, and it's relentless. And so we want you to know that you are not alone. Trish, myself, we both feel emotional highs, emotional lows. You're a human being. You're not a robot. We're not robots. We're not meant to just always feel good all the time. They always say, what is the sunshine without the rain? The dichotomy of the emotional spectrum that we have as human beings is really a special gift that we have to us, and us exclusively as a species. And we want to help you realize that feeling depressed can be normal. Feeling depressed can just be, it can be severe, it can be genetic, but in most cases, and what we're going to talk about today, is it's just an onset, either mild or severe sadness that gets you into this place where you just don't feel emotion, and there's no motivation inside of you to step out into the world and to confront the dragons that are out there. And so what we want to do is we just want to talk about that. We're not going to be here on this episode acting or putting on a front like we're psychologists or anything like that. But I think we have a lot of insight as we go through our 5 steps. Today, we really have 5 things that we're going to talk about, 5 segments and they're really strategies, Trisha. They're strategies to help you stop feeling bad and start feeling better. And if nothing else, when you leave this conversation today, Burn Nation, when you are done with this podcast, you should feel better. This conversation today should have you walking away feeling better about yourself, being equipped, having more tools, and understanding, what can really get you out of that rut, that funk, that depression, wherever it may be. So how does that sound? Is that a good agreement today, that we can all walk away feeling better?
Yes, I think that sounds great.
I like it. All right. Well, Trish, this is something where I know that you were perusing the internet, and you found a couple of cool clips and to set up the podcast today. So let's turn it over to you, and let's do that.
Yeah. So this is such a real topic because I battle this depression, this idea, this concept all the time. I think the last episode we were talking, I got super emotional because I was in like that state. And when you're in it, like you just want to get out of it. And as I was thinking about, how I wanted to show up today and just talk about depression, because it is a really real thing. And I know that there's different severities of it. And I never want anyone to feel like the way that we talk about it doesn't mean that we don't see you, because we definitely do. But also when I was thinking about this, a clip that always makes me smile, which we love to smile and be happy, is if you remember the clip from Legally Blonde, which we're going to roll here in a second. We're going to talk a little bit about the science in this episode of depression and different ways to get out of it. So this kind of sets us up to get into the science of it all. Let's let Reese Witherspoon take it away.
I love her.
I don't think Brooke could have done this. Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands. They just don't.
They just don't.
They just don't. And if you can smile just knowing, like, I took camp this morning. I'm so happy I did. I still have those endorphins going. I am happy. But there was also, I was going through and I was trying to really educate myself on the science of all of this because I didn't actually know before we're going into this episode. So I wanted to prepare myself. And I came across this clip from a doctor talking about endorphins and what that actually means. So let's go ahead and roll this clip.
And exercise beats depression isn't endorphins. It's brain-building BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. It's a fertilizer for your neurons. It stimulates new connections and brain cells. Your brain naturally produces BDNF, but levels drop with stress, poor sleep, and aging. When BDNF levels fall too low, neurons shrink, particularly in areas controlling moods. People with depression have BDNF levels 30% lower than normal. Antidepressants actually work by increasing BDNF, not just affecting serotonin. This explains why they take weeks to work. They're rebuilding neural circuits through BDNF. Exercise can double your levels in just 30 minutes. Do 30 minutes of high-intensity exercise 3 times a week to maximize BDNF, combined with intermittent fasting and omega-3 supplements for even a stronger effect. This combination increases BDNF by up to 400% in some brain regions.
And what I love about this, there's things I don't love about it, but what I do love about it, who is this, by the way? What doctor is this? He's a PhD, yeah? Dr. Lewis Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I do love about this is the combination approach that he's taking. What I don't love about this is just some of the, there's no hierarchy here, and because what you might not understand yet, which I hope that you understand by the end of this podcast, is this this word that we've used quite a few times. It's called neuroplasticity, and what that means is that it's your brain's ability to essentially rewire itself, right? Like it can change in form. You have this executive network of different neurons that can wire and fire together, and the miracle grow, if you will, to your brain, the fertilizer to your brain is this BDNF, or brain-derived neurotropic factor, and you can think about that as like miracle grow for your grass. It's like this. It lays the fertile ground, and he mentions that antidepressants affect BDNF, which is true, but it is so much and more, which I think he was trying to get across, just wasn't super clear about it. So much less effective than actually exercise itself. But we're not here to demonize one or the other. What we're here to do is to have a well-rounded discussion. And, if you're somebody that is feeling sad, if you're somebody that has this chronic depressive attitude, it's not always, it's not always just your environment and the things that are going on in your life. Chelsea, if you could pull up the big 5 personality traits, let's pull up the big 5 personality traits. ChatGPT would probably be best for this. This is the clinically accepted, universally accepted 5 personality traits by psychologists worldwide. And there's actually a really great test you can take. I believe it's called understandyourself.com. Morgan and I have both done it. But what this will do is it will take 5 traits across openness. If you want to show that screen, Chelsea, that would be great to show. Openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. If you're high in some of these things like neuroticism, if you're very low in conscientiousness, meaning self-discipline, organization, dependability, if you have some of these traits that you're naturally wired, you could be naturally wired for low spectrum of energy, low emotional energy. Keep this tab because we're going to come back to it. Now show me the chart that we always pull up on the podcast that shows power versus force. It's called the map of consciousness. And this is going to do, it's going to show you a spectrum of emotional state. We've been talking a lot on the podcast lately if you're following along, and I want you to follow along because these are like episodic and they connect with one another. It's not necessarily the interviews. Those are, we're just trying to dive into the interview. For example, episode 9 was with Ron Boss Everline. We dove deep into his background. He's Kevin Hart's trainer. And so, yeah, you're going to have one of those every week, but you're also going to have an episode with Trisha and I where you have this ongoing conversation. Go ahead and pull up the map of consciousness, and you're going to see that I show this chart a lot because what it's really doing is mapping out from enlightenment down to shame, the highest level of positive emotion you can have, which is more power, meaning giving you power, controlling your life. And then you move down into shame, which is synonymous with, all those negative emotions are synonymous, like forcing it, forcing people to listen to you, forcing power rather than having it and actually possessing it, actually wanting to possess something that you don't really have. So you guys can see purple at the top and then red at the bottom. I think it is so important. It is so important when we talk about the BDNF in this video. I'm weaving right now. I'm bringing this back. The BDNF in this video, the miracle grow for your brain, sits on it, in the soil of your brain. The soil of your brain is oftentimes derived naturally. Your personality has many, many traits about it that it just cannot change regardless of how you were brought up or how your environment treated you or your parents treated you. You have this kind of psychological makeup, and that's who you are. That's your personality, and that can change over time, but there's a default setting to it. And you can really default as a human being down into apathy, down into guilt, down into the lower force emotions here down at the bottom of the map of conscientiousness, which in turn puts you at maybe a high level of neuroticism. Maybe you're naturally self-indulgent just because of the way that you are wired. Maybe you're naturally really not, go back to the big 5 traits, I'm not an agreeable person. So if you are somebody that's not agreeable, right? Like you might not trust anyone. You might not always be kind. You might not cooperate the best way. You might not have a lot of compassion. And so these traits might lead you. My point is, these traits might lead you down a road where you naturally lean into a depressive mindset based on who you are. So many people want to shame those who are depressed, saying, "Oh, don't be depressed. Like that's because you just need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and like go out there and seize the world and get a 6-pack." Like I know there's a lot of like bro culture out there that's like, go out and get a 6-pack and you won't be depressed. And it's like, okay, I mean, en masse, when you're talking about millions and millions of people across these 5 traits, neuroticism, agreeableness, extroversion, conscientiousness, openness to experience, every personality type is different, and many of them default to negative emotion. But BDNF is so important. It's so important because this is the fertilizer for you to rewire neuroplasticity, to rewire your brain and to be able to fire and wire together different executive functions that can actually change your personality. Am I making sense? What do you hear me saying there? Because I know that's a lot of big words, but my point is to get across that if you are somebody who might be depressive or sad or in that state right now, it's not just maybe the state of the things that are happening around you. It also could be your natural depressive state. And a lot of that, and I'm the biggest person to talk about personal responsibility, but a lot of that has nothing to do with you.
So if I'm someone listening to this and I'm like, yeah, I'm shaking my head, I'm that person, what would be then my next steps because I know in that video we watched, she was talking about how exercise is 30 times more beneficial or something like that than medicine. But I know a lot of people are on medication. So I think that there could be confusing to people hearing what you just said, knowing that they're on medicine. It's just could be, if you can add some clarity.
So we're on episode 12. If you go back to episode 10 and episode 8, we talked a lot about this, story versus state. Mm-hmm. That the story that we tell ourselves is predicated on the state that we're in. So what we're really, does that make sense? So like whatever emotional state that we're in based on that map of consciousness, wherever we're at, there's going to be a correlated story that reinforces that state that we're in and vice versa. So what we need to do is then come up with strategies to move from shame toward enlightenment. That we need to move away from sadness toward, and it's not happiness, but meaning.
So it could be just harder for some people to work their way up that map of consciousness based off of their just instincts and who they are as a human being.
Yes, and it can also work the other way. Have you ever met somebody who is so full of positive emotion that negative that they should actually get like offended or worried or they should actually be sad about some things, and they're not sad about things?
Yeah, always
Just
happy.
Go through life always happy?
Yeah.
That's just as bad. This chronic dismissal. You want to feel.
Yeah.
See, the issue, and we'll get into this as we get into the podcast, but the one stick that I have with antidepressant is that it's a short-term solution that people have taken on based on a story, a narrative that we'll get into later, that makes them feel like it's a long-term solution, and then they get on this as like a long-term solution. And it numbs them out. It's called emotional numbing.
Yeah.
In the profession. And so you have this emotional numbing that takes place, and you're not feeling the depths of, you're not feeling terrible, but you never feel happy. And you kind of feel like always kind of right in the middle.
Yeah.
And so, to me, we want to feel.
Yeah. It's okay to feel.
It's okay to feel. You have to feel. It's
Yeah.
part of the gift that we've been given, is the natural human experience.
Yeah, and I think just going back to what you said before is like how you grew up, right? If you grew up in a maybe a home where feelings weren't okay. I mean, I know people where like you cannot have feelings, like sad, like no sad feelings, right? You have to always be happy. So that could then make you feel like you're doing something, like you are built wrong and you need help, medication to like not have those feelings. So I could see where people could be like, this is why, because I don't feel like that's acceptable for me to show up this way.
Especially in men.
Yeah.
Especially in men, sad equals weak. And if I'm weak and I'm vulnerable, then I'm not here for my family. I'm not the strong, protector and provider that I should be. And so then I have a misalignment because I'm not congruent. My core values are not aligning with my behaviors. And that's really the essence of a story. And when I'm talking about story versus state, that's the essence of it. So we're going to talk about some strategies. There's 5 of them that are going to help you really get from where you're at right now, and maybe you're in the lower spectrum of negative emotion, to try to get more of your life up into the more experiences for you associated with the meaning of positive emotion. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let me see. Where we want to start with this. The reason I started thinking about this, and I wanted to bring this on the podcast, is because as most of you know, if you're following me on Instagram, then you're seeing Flint and I get after it. We're now 19 weeks in. Flint's lost over 40 pounds, like 2.2 pounds a week. We're eating 100 grams of protein or more every single day. We're training for 45 minutes hardcore at camp at noon, Monday through Friday. And then she's on the assault bike a handful of times a week. And one of our major goals, because Flint is on antidepressants and a host of other medications. So one of our major goals was to get off all medication possible, right? Get off all medication possible. And for her, in her story, in her situation, now genetic predispositions might disqualify this scenario for you, because you might have to be on something for some reason, but there's no biological reason that Flint has to be on anything, right? It's all lifestyle-induced medication, that because her lifestyle was one that was leading her down that negative path of emotion, and that state in her body was, then the fertile ground for her to tell herself a story.
Yep.
Now, that kept happening. And now the story is shaping the personality. And the personality is one that was depressive, that I need to be on this medication. And so my question for her and her doctors was very simple. How do we get Flint off medication? What is the game plan? And so that's really what we're suggesting today. If you're somebody if you feel, or you know somebody who is like chronically sad, or they live in this mildly depressive state, and we can do something about it, then we should. We should do something about it. We're going to help you walk through that the same way I felt Flint walk through it. That's my game plan. Sound good?
That sounds great.
All right. And we already know what number 1's going to be. Number 1, there's five strategies and 5 tactics we're going to talk about today. I had so much fun researching this. This was incredibly fun to research. But exercise is the foundation of everything. Why is exercise the foundation? Did you explore that question at all as we're coming into this podcast?
I went for a long walk and was trying to do all the research that I could. And I also found it interesting because I hadn't gone down that path, but it's really crazy how your body can react based off of how you're treating it. It was the biggest thing that I had no idea. I mean, I've always known, obviously, that I feel better after I work out, right? But I didn't actually know that the inner workings of my body were actually changing, and I was developing different chemicals to obviously then manipulate other chemicals to make me feel better in my head. So I would mess it up if I tried to get into the science. I'll let you go through it, but I did do some of my own research.
Yeah, and so what I found as I was going to research was pretty interesting. So I was just really looking at answering this central question. If I'm depressed, what can I actually do about it? Mm-hmm. And obviously one of the first things that came to my mind were antidepressants. And listen, I don't know anything or much of anything about antidepressants. So I'm in the same boat as you. I'm not an expert, but I went out and I found the research that was available. And honestly, I was pretty shocked by what I found. And I'm not here for the shock value on the podcast, but very rarely do I come across something that I want to bring to you that's shocking. Because when it's true, I will do that. Oftentimes, shocking information has this, dramatized effect just to be shocking. But this is actually true. Okay, you guys listen to me on this one. This is actually true. So in the 50s and 60s, there was an antidepressant, but the antidepressant that was made at scale made people overweight and kind of sick and bloated, and it wasn't the best solution. And so they developed this. And this was released in 1987 by Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly is a pharmaceutical company, and in the 70s, basically in the 80s, they developed an SSRI, which you guys have probably heard. It's a category of antidepressants. SSRI, SSNI, I think is the term. Check that, Chelsea. And then the third one is atypical antidepressants, and it kind of goes up in severity from SSRIs onward, and those are the three categories. Use GPT. And so in the 1960s, there was this theory that the psychiatrists had, and it was this serotonin theory of depression. Okay, and so this kind of was a theory. It wasn't really tested. But when Prozac launched in 1987, by the way, there was 1 to 2% of the population that would report depression. They hijacked essentially that research, that serotonin theory of depression, which said this, that you are depressed because of a chemical imbalance because you have low serotonin, was the claim. Well, that's since been disproven. And it was a theory when Eli Lilly launched Prozac to the marketplace in 1987 based on chemical imbalance. All of their ads, all of their low serotonin, if you have a chemical imbalance, take this drug and it's going to help you. And so it was proven to be wrong. And so as 1987 Prozac launched, and you scale out to 2025, the industry revenue had exploded. It's $15 to $20 billion in per year. 15 to 20 billion per year, not total.
It's crazy. Global
market making antidepressants one of the most profitable drugs in the class. Now, I'm not gonna demonize them. I'm not going down that road. I'm just telling you my discovery here. But as the billions roll in, then the depression goes from 1 or 2% to a widely spread 28%, 20 to 25 by every statistic I could find, but as high as 28. And so as the revenue goes up, the prescriptions increase, so did the depression. And so here's the problem that I have with it, is that if the theory of serotonin based depression was fundamentally wrong, then now what has happened with doctors and patients is that we have passed on through marketing, through advertising, this idea that you have a brain deficiency, that you have a low chemical, and you have to take this drug if you have this low chemical. And if you stop taking this drug, the chemical then will go return to its low serotonin levels, therefore you'll go back to depression. And what we're doing is we're taking a perfectly great, by the way, perfectly usable, perfectly applicable SSRI, Prozac, right? Or, the next level might be SSNIs or like Wellbutrin, maybe as a SNRIs. I'm sorry for all of my professionals out there. But I think like Wellbutrin is in that category. And then that atypical antidepressant is that kind of top category. What we experience is that this perfectly good medical philosophy and is this perfectly good drug is tainted by this marketing philosophy. Antidepressants should be that bridge to help somebody who is like deep in it, like to the point where they're in their bed, and you can't move, to help you get up. And to actually go do something, to get up and to be motivated to go to the gym and get yourself into the gym and carry that momentum and then eventually get off the antidepressant. And that is the correct application of antidepressants. But in practicality, if we don't keep people on them as big pharma, if we don't keep people on them as big marketing, well, then we're not getting that reoccurring subscription revenue that comes from the Prozac. And so right now, I believe that a perfectly good drug is being tainted by a bad application, a bad protocol that is keeping people on these drugs for far too long. And this is just firsthand experience. I've never taken an antidepressant, but I've had many, many members who have been on them. And the number one way that I've seen people deal with their depression is consistent exercise. Even if they are on an antidepressant, they'll report that they don't need it in the long run, that the antidepressant is not as powerful as exercise, and it's not even close. And and I want you to react to this. What I don't like about the doctor clip that we showed was he was saying that BDNF with exercise and antidepressant is about the same. He didn't really make the distinction of the BDNF activity in the brain, but it's markedly, like orders of magnitude, I believe 400% more effective with exercise rather than antidepressant. And so, yes, does it impact your BDNF, your ability to rewire your circuits, the ability to change your mind, rewire the way you think? Yes, but not nearly as potent as exercise. So if you're feeling we talked about this 2 episodes ago. If you're feeling that you're in a depressed state of mind, then you're going to have this story that's correlated to that, reinforcing that state. Change your state. Go ignite your physiology. Go do something. Go move. Go walk. If you need an antidepressant to get yourself to that point where you can go do that, that's where they have a place. Then go do that. You're going to start feeling much better. But where I think we go wrong is when we take a pill and then we continue to sit in bed and don't do anything.
I think it's such an interesting time to be alive right now because of the way that the algorithm is in your phone. So it's like, you might be going down this kind of, you're telling yourself the story of I'm depressed. You might be researching antidepressants, and then all of a sudden your TikTok feed and your Instagram is full of all these people telling you to take this whatever antidepressant because you're getting hit with these advertisements because they were able to retarget you because you visited a website. So it's like everything would be against you in that moment. And I'm just going, as you were talking, I was thinking back to when, if you've heard my story before, you know that I found Burn Boot Camp because I was experiencing postpartum depression, or what I kind of self-diagnosed myself. I didn't actually go to a doctor to get diagnosed, but I was very sad all the time after my second kid. So much so that I couldn't even leave the house. My husband was worried about me, and I didn't want to go to the doctor to get diagnosed either because I don't know why. I guess I just didn't feel like I needed to. And I thankfully found Burn Boot Camp before I got to the point where I did put chemicals in my body. But I'm also someone who I'm very aware of like my being and how I feel. And I don't like putting anything in my body that alters my state of mind. It just really freaks me out. So really, that was never really a thought for me. But if you are someone who is just going down a path to where you are really sad and you just want help, I could see how that could be something that you would want. And then also to not have the motivation, because if you're depressed and you're sad and all you're doing is sitting on the couch, because believe me, I was there, I barely got up, barely went outside and got sunshine, then you want to do anything that you can to put these chemicals in your body if it's going to help you. So for someone who is that way, that is potentially listening to this, there is a way out. Like, you don't have to continue taking the pills, and making sure that you're including exercise. Like Devan said, Flint is amazing. I've gotten to the chance to work out with her, and she is such a joy to have in the gym. And I'm happy to hear that she is on her way out of taking the medication, and like that you can have this treatment plan to where you are still overcoming the obstacles that you're facing in your head, the stories that you're telling yourself.
So check out this Instagram video. This is on my page. This is Flint and I training at Burn Boot Camp Lake Norman, our flagship. And right now she is with this movement, this skier swing exercise. She is lifting, I believe, 45s during that exercise.
Oh.
Now, Flint is still on antidepressants right now in this video, and we had just started the conversation about, hey, how are you feeling now? Are you waking up in a better mood? Are you up the map of consciousness in terms of your energy levels? And as she is self-reporting back to me how much better she is feeling, I'm also asking her doctor, hey, how do we get off this medication properly? Because I do respect the medical industry. I'm not going to be somebody that sits here and says, never take an antidepressant. I believe that we are in a place with the medical industry in America that's bad right now, because we are not a single doctor is going to say, hey, I'm going to give you antidepressants, but not if you don't exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to exercise along with this.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then this isn't going to work for you. It's only going to be worse for you in the long run if you don't do anything about it. I want to hear this take from a psychologist. And it's a YouTube video that I found. I thought she did a very good job explaining it. It's a little bit longer clip, so hang with us. But she's really explaining what can happen if you just take a pill and you don't actually change your story. If you're just changing your state with a pill and not changing your story, then you're going to have the same old story. You're going to have one that's wired around a pill, that if I don't have the pill, then I'm not going to ever break this. Mm-hmm. And this is why we both, the psychiatrist and myself, have a problem with the positioning of antidepressants, that they are to solve the serotonin deficiency that lives in the brain, the chemical imbalance that actually has been disproven, by the way, by a landmark study, a landmark study, not a meta-analysis of, it was in molecular psychology, by the way. Okay, it was by Moncrief. And this systematically examined decades of research and concluded there was no consistent evidence of being an association with serotonin and depression. And this was in 2022. So now this is widely accepted that this actually isn't the reason. So now we have millions and millions and millions of us who are out here on antidepressants on false premises. And I think we need to make more noise about what the truth is, so that we're able to use this drug and use this medicine in an appropriate way that's empowering us. Roll this clip.
On mind-altering, brain and mind-altering drugs like alcohol, like cannabis, etc.
What is the serotonin myth that you think you're correcting?
One of the biological theories of depression that was proposed several decades back now was the idea that depression is due to a deficiency of certain brain chemicals, and serotonin was one of the brain chemicals that was suggested to be relevant in depression in particular. So this is referred to as the serotonin theory of depression. It was articulated by medical researchers back in the 1960s, but then it was recruited by the pharmaceutical industry when they released the SSRIs in the late 1980s and and early 1990s to help to market that range of drugs. And that's when this idea that depression is caused by a chemical imbalance became really widely known by the general public.
Do you think people who go on to antidepressants still think that this is the reason? And what's your evidence for that?
I think there's an assumption by the medical profession as well as by patients that antidepressants work by targeting some underlying biological abnormality. And yet that has not been demonstrated.
Are you saying that SSRIs are a bit like alcohol?
Absolutely.
They change the way you feel?
Absolutely. Antidepressants are mind-altering, brain and mind-altering drugs like alcohol, like cannabis, etc. That doesn't mean that the effects that they produce are exactly the same as the effects that alcohol produces, but in principle, they do the same thing. They change our mental states quite subtly in the case of many antidepressants, but nevertheless, they do produce these changes, particularly this characteristic emotional numbing.
Billions of people are taking them, and presumably a lot of them feel that they are being helped, that it's working. And they don't know why, and they don't really care why. They just know that it's making them feel better. Otherwise, they wouldn't carry on taking them.
Yes, which is why we need to look at the randomized control trials and try and understand the results of those and recognize that actually most of the effect of the antidepressant is a placebo effect. And a placebo effect, of course, is about having some hope that you will get better. It's not just about being duped that you're, taking something that doesn't really work. It is the hope that people get. The trouble is that I think antidepressants are giving people false hope. And a lot of people may feel better initially, but actually there will come a point when they realize that the antidepressant isn't working anymore, or they've still got problems. And then they can often feel even worse because they feel, oh gosh, I've had the treatment that's supposed to work. It's not working for me. I must be a really specially severe case. What on earth am I going to do? And that can put people in an even worse place.
Yeah, it could put you in an even worse place, especially if you need to continue to up your dosage to feel the same. And so, Trish, your take on this?
Well, I think it's interesting that the placebo effect I kind of felt like that's where it was going, what she was talking about. It's like, I need this, I'm going to take this, oh, I feel better. But you think about the last podcast that we're talking about, the, oh, I feel better because I took this is a story that they just told themselves because they put a pill in their mouth. Just like if you are feeling any certain way and you take a drink of alcohol, oh, I feel better. It's the story that you're telling yourself. And not to say that you aren't really depressed. And it's like, I'm not trying to say that it's all because of the story, but a lot of it is your mental state and the story that you're telling yourself.
Placebo is an interesting word, and the study that she is referring to in there, I think she said when she looked at the randomized control trials, that is the same study that I was looking at, that really shows that there is no correlation between or evidence between association of serotonin and depression, and so it is. This is coming from somebody who could benefit from saying the opposite. Mm-hmm. This doesn't benefit our guest psychiatrist today. It doesn't benefit her at all to say this. Yeah. Because a lot of times, one of the many ways that doctors, psychologists make their money is selling medicine to people. So exercise, number one, over everything. If you're somebody right now who might be on a pill, but you're not exercising, watch how exercise, if you could just use that pill with the goal to get up out of bed if you're that bad. If you don't need the pill to get up and get out of bed, just go exercise, because it's not falsehood. It's not fiction. This is real. Mm-hmm. This has been, there is so much evidence that points toward movement being medicine. Movement is your medicine. And God gave us this array of chemicals that when we move our body, it creates this synergy between the 11 major organ systems that we have in our body. And it has a way of giving us exactly what we need when we need it. But we have to ignite the physiology. We have to move our body. The movement is the trigger for all those chemicals to start regulating, upregulate, downregulate, figuring out what you need in order to feel happy. And your brain will just do that automatically. I don't know how to explain it. You can go read the landmark studies. You can go read the meta-analysis. I don't understand a lot that goes on in there because I'm not a PhD. But what I do know is I see people every single day at Burn, thousands of people. I'd have to be crazy not to recognize this pattern that they were once depressive and now they're 50 camps, 100 camps, 150 camps in, and it's not gone completely away, because if you're somebody that naturally lives on that low spectrum of energy based on your big 5 human personality traits, you're going to always have a tendency to default to depression. That's can be who you are sometimes, which means we got to fight even harder to have meaningful experiences that we can associate joy and fulfillment to.
One of the things that you said earlier, which was you wish that when doctors prescribed this antidepressant that they would also prescribe exercise. And as I was doing my own research, I was listening to a podcast that was 20 different doctors put together, and their number one, it was across an array of different topics, right? It wasn't just about mental health. It was different topics. And the number one thing that they all came back to was exercise. You need to exercise. And one of the stats that they said was, I thought was really interesting, was, to Devan's point, God made us to move. We're human and we need to move. But we have everything working against us because we sleep for hopefully 8 hours a night. So that's not movement. And then if you have a desk job, then you're sitting for about 8 hours, and then you might go home and sit on the couch for another. So like at that point, you're already 16, 17, 18 hours in. So you're just sitting all day long. Unless you intentionally move your body and you intentionally schedule it like we talk about, you're probably not going to do it. So then you're going to tell yourself all these stories because you're going to feel like crap because your body's going to feel like crap. So that's like the downward spiral of what happens in our heads if we don't intentionally set out to move our body.
Yeah, it definitely happens to you, right? If you don't have intention behind it. I love the way you put that. And the second thing that I wanted to discuss today is a strategy to feel better, right? A strategy to feel better. And I used to think when I was a kid, meaning like in my young 20s, that this wasn't a thing. Like I was one of those skeptics that this next thing we're going to talk about, like getting sunlight and syncing to your circadian rhythm. I was like, what the heck is a circadian rhythm? What are you even talking about, circadian rhythm? What does that even mean? That sounds like something the Egyptians did, or, and I used to, I used to kind of throw that one aside. But you know what? I went through my own bout of mild depression. I've never been a depressive person. If you look at my, big 5 traits, I actually have them on my computer.
I want to take that test so bad.
Oh, it's such a great test. Out of 99 people that are in the room, when it comes to extroversion, I'm the most extroverted person. That
doesn't surprise
me. When it comes to openness and creativity, I'm 98. And so then there's only 2 people more creative or open to ideas, or 1 person out of 100. And so, you start to learn yourself as you go forward and taking these tests and understanding the personality traits. We do culture index. Many of you have done, what's the one that they do? I think it's called Enneagram. That's one that was popular a long time ago.
Yeah.
Find a picture of the Enneagram one. There's just all these different tools out there that can help you find out, about yourself. And as somebody who is I'm very low in agreeableness. I'm like a 23.
Same.
Right? So, which means that you can't tell me nothing, right? Like, don't tell me, okay, unless you come with it. You gotta really have a resume and influence for me to have a high level of intellectual respect for you. That's what agreeableness means. And so I'm very disagreeable. And so I used to think that like getting sunlight, syncing your circadian rhythm, this is silly stuff that the biohackers are using. And to me, fitness, exercising regularly, and eating properly and sleeping well are the big 3. That's all you really need. There's no biohacking about that, right? It's just do those 3 things. You don't ever need to deploy a biohacking strategy in your life. So I'm like 23, 24, 25. I'm not believing in any of this stuff. I go through my own bout of depression. I start as you guys might know my story, I won't go into the full story, but I'll just give you the cliff notes. I'm all in on business. Like I'm all in on ambition being my identity rather than, keeping God at the center of my marriage and having that be the foundation to my life. It's business. And so I need more, just like people need more antidepressant. If you take a little bit and you think it's going to help, you need more, and you need more, and you need more, and you need more. You could get addicted to this behavior, this habit. Yeah. Same thing for me with ambition. Just whatever your addiction is, it doesn't matter. You're going to need more of it the more you partake. So I went from identity to full-blown like depressive mindset if things went wrong. And things will go wrong. If you're the leader, if you're an entrepreneur, things are going to go wrong. So the moment something would go wrong, I was on a fragile state and I would crash. And I wouldn't crash all the way to shame or guilt or the lowest level of the spectrum, but I would be in that like sad, discontent, maybe sometimes feeling mild shame. And I was just getting so over it. No energy. The way I was feeling wasn't empowering me. It wasn't empowering my family. It wasn't honoring God. It wasn't honoring my franchise partners in our business and our headquarter team. And it was just, I didn't have the state. So I wasn't telling my story in a way that showed up for people the way I knew how. And so I refocused on my exercise and I just recalibrated myself to that. Number one. Number two, I started getting sunlight. I started, and I don't know if you saw me get really tan over the summer, but I would be outside every morning, even before the podcast, as we were recording this summer, the road out back. I would go walk that road with my shirt off and just get sunlight for 15 minutes. And I used to think it was such BS when I was younger, but now I am all in on getting sun every day and the way that it affects you. I don't know everything there is to know about it regulating cortisol or melatonin or it regulating your energy systems, but I know from personal experience the way it makes me feel. And maybe we can ask ChatGPT about the vitamin D correlation, because I know that's a big correlation. Maybe how strongly is vitamin D linked to sadness or depression would be a good question to explore. But in my world, this has been the number two thing that helped me get out of the most significant depressive battle in my life.
How did you do that going, like, just because you had to work yourself out of it? Did someone tell you to go do that? Because I think that's where a lot of people are, is like, well, I feel that same way. And so all these commercials were telling me, hey, if you feel sad, do you feel lonely? Do you feel like you don't want to get out of bed? Take this medicine. So I went and took the medicine. But you did the opposite.
I did the opposite. You're exactly right. And the reason I didn't take the medicine is because I have a prerequisite knowledge of where the medical industry is today. And as I look at commercials for antidepressants, they don't ever mention one thing about exercise or movement or nutrition or sleep or sunlight or taking this antidepressant in association with. And I'm a skeptic of the highest form when it comes to absolutism. When people, I think there's only one place for absolutism, and that's God and morals. That there's absolutely a God and there's absolutely right, good and evil, right and wrong. Like it's bad to harm somebody or kill somebody, and it's that's objectively a wrong thing to do, and it's objectively a good thing to do to give what you have to other people in need. So, it's a conversation with me personally that only came to light because of one word and one word only, and I want you guys to take this away. It's curiosity. That's why I posed the podcast headline as a question. What's the question? What to do when feeling depressed? Notice it doesn't ask, what do I do if I am depressed? It doesn't say, I am, meaning I'm not allowing myself to ever get to the point where I'm defining I am depressed, because now this becomes my identity. And you know what? And psychology will tell us this, that human nature has a strong need to be in alignment with who you think you are. So if I am depressed, I'm going to start finding things in my life that are, and attracting things in my life that are in alignment with that conclusion, that I'm depressed. But if my conclusion is, hey, I'm feeling depressed and I can do something about it, that's a completely different perspective to tackle this state of being with, right? Because now just by the nature of the question that I'm asking, I'm assuming that there's something I can do about it rather than I am this person. I'm stuck in this identity and there's nothing I can do about it.
And if you're going down like a rabbit hole of depression or feeling sad, because I know that happens too. That happened to me literally last week where I just couldn't get out of it. I think that's also where you need to make sure you have like a safe space. And I was just reading back through to our HQ crew, and I know Devan did this on our recent podcast of like from the Proud video, our Proud campaign that dropped. There's a lot of comments about how people have changed because of Burn Bootcamp and how it's changed their life. And something that we always like to say is Burn Bootcamp is my happy place. And that just rung a bell for me as you were talking, Devan, because I think that a lot of times if you are going down that path, you need to not go sit on your couch by yourself. You need to somehow get the courage to get outside. And if that means it's going to Burn Bootcamp around a community who you know loves you and supports you, and you might not be moving your body the best that you've ever done, but at least you're moving your body and you're getting yourself out of that rut, then I think that that's just a level of awareness that you need to then put into practice in your life.
I agree. And I think we have an answer from ChatGPT on how strongly vitamin D is linked to depression. And you probably know this. You probably know already that vitamin D is strongly linked to depression or vitamin D deficiencies because there's this whole syndrome. I think it's called, it's right there.
Seasonal.
Yeah, seasonal affective disorder, SAD. During the darker months, people get less sunlight, lower vitamin D production. This is one reason researchers suspect vitamin D deficiency might contribute to a form of depression tied to seasonal changes called SAD or seasonal affective disorder. Observational evidence, Trish, you want to take it over? So observational evidence is another reason. There's 4 things up on the screen here. Let's go over those.
Yeah, observational evidence. People with low vitamin D levels often report depressive symptoms. This has been seen across many population studies. Vitamin D receptors exist in areas of the brain involved in mood regulation, like the hippocampus. Oh, I know that word because you've talked about it.
We do talk about the hippocampus.
And prefrontal cortex, which supports a possible biological connection.
Prefrontal cortex, people, also, you should know this. Remember, we're here to educate ourselves. Also known as the what part of the brain? I'm one of these at Burn Bootcamp. You're one of these at Burn Bootcamp. It's who makes the decisions? The executive part of the brain.
Okay.
That's the prefrontal cortex.
We'll get there, Devan.
The part of the brain that makes us different than every other species. That's what makes us human, gives us logic, gives us reasoning, gives us discernment to override any emotions that we might have. Continue.
So really quick, I just want to bring this light because it was rainy the other day in North Carolina, and multiple people, when I got on calls, it was like, I'm just feeling sad today. Well, this is it's science, folks. So when it's raining outside and it's gloomy, it's because vitamin D actually helps support you to be not depressed.
Clinical trials and then strength of the link, the correlation is fairly strong. Low vitamin D levels are consistently associated with higher rates of depression and sadness. Okay, so for today's purposes, we're going to take this for what it is, and we're letting the GPT meta scientist tell us exactly what vitamin D deficiency is and how it is linked to getting sunlight and depression. So then you have this thing called circadian rhythm, because I thought at one point I knew what it was, and it was some like kind of metaphysical thing that the Egyptians did. I wanted to play a video for everybody, and I know that you probably kind of already know like what it might be, but let's just play the video. Let's get the foundation. Let's all get on the same page, because this circadian rhythm can be one of your best friends if you start to correlate your sleeping schedule to your best of your ability, your eating schedule to the best of your ability, with the rise and the fall of the sun. Roll video.
How do you know when it's time to sleep or time to wake up in the morning? More powerful than any alarm clock are your own circadian rhythms. 24-hour cycles of biological processes that exist in every living thing. They keep your body functioning on schedule, day and night, wherever you are. And the key to it all is a bunch of cells in the retina of the eye called photosensitive retinal ganglion cells.
Wow.
Whilst the eye's rod and cone cells are responsible for vision, these retinal ganglion cells detect the brightness of our surroundings and send that information through the optic nerve to the suprachiasmatic nuclei, the brain's master clock.
You're going to be tested on this.
The master clock coordinates all the tiny clocks that govern the behaviour of the cells throughout the body. Taking light as its cue, the master clock determines a continuous cycle of physiological changes within our cells, including the production of hormones that prepare our bodies for waking and sleeping hours. Experiments show that when a person is kept entirely in the dark, their circadian rhythm hardly alters, keeping more or less to a 24-hour day. But seeing too much or too little light, or receiving light at the wrong times of day, can leave the master clock confused as to the time of day. This upsets the rhythm of our cells and impacts on our health and well-being. It's a real problem for people who work at night, those with sleep disorders, and also those with certain visual impairments that prevent light reaching those light-detecting ganglion cells. Studies have shown that disruptions to our natural rhythms put an extraordinary strain on the body, increasing the risk of a number of serious diseases, including cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and depression. It can also impair your ability to think, which is why, here at Oxford, we're researching whether delaying the start of the school day by an hour or two to better suit the body clock of...
Okay. So a couple of words that I've never heard before, the retinal ganglia.
Spell that.
Yeah, that absorb the light. And then what it does is it sends, what I wanted you to pick up there, is that it sends chemical messages. It sends electricity to your brain that helps you regulate your emotional state, your emotional being, the state of mind that you're in. And if you don't listen to it, then you're going to experience stress that can lead to an array of different ailments. And it basically named all the terrible things that could happen to us if we are not following the circadian rhythm. And this is just a strategy, right? I'm not saying, hey, get 15 minutes of sunlight every day and, wake up and go to bed in alignment and eat food in alignment with the circadian rhythm. I'm not saying that you have to be so specific. I'm just telling you that if you can get some sunlight and you can regulate the times that you get up in the morning and the times that you go to sleep at night, just those three things, 15 minutes a day, same time get up, same time go to bed, roughly within a 30-minute window, you're going to start to feel better just because that's what the body needs to reset and to restore homeostasis or the normal balance in the body. You guys follow me on that one?
Yep.
Okay, so we don't need to spend too much more time on that. Let's go to number 3, which is, and we don't need to spend a ton of time on this either because this isn't a nutritional based episode, but obviously, the center of all of our energy is nutrition. To me, the exercise, nutrition, it's hand in hand. It's the same thing. It's the 1-2 punch of human energy, health, vitality. If we don't have our health, what do we really have? Mm-hmm. And so, when you are eating well and you are sleeping in rhythm, okay, mental health is just going to be better overall. You're going to get less blood sugar instability. A proper amount of protein is going to affect like the retinal ganglia that sends messages to your brain when you see light during the circadian rhythm. The protein that is responsible for these neurotransmitters, these receptors, these enzymes, that's the biochemistry of your whole body. And protein is really important, right? Most people think protein is just for muscle protein synthesis, MPS. We've talked about that. It's not it though, right? You've got all that's the structure. It's your joints, it's your ligaments, it's your connective tissue. Our burn boot camp, collagen will help restore protein for hair, nails, eyes, connective tissue. But it's the protein itself as a molecule that you put into your body not only has the structure side of it, but it's also the function side of it, which is all the biochemical functions of your body. So eat well, then your brain wires and fires better. We're able to take advantage of that one word, that neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire and refire your brain. You're more primed to do that when you're nourished, especially with omega-3 fatty acids, have a strong link to lower depression risk. But the idea here, we don't need to spend too much on this. Trish, I'll get your comments on nutrition. But this is really just about controlling your calories. In my opinion, everybody wants to stay in a slight caloric deficit, 200 calories in the long run. This is going to allow you to stay lean while simultaneously building muscle if you're keeping your protein high, okay? Giving your body a sufficient amount of carbohydrates, okay? And then eating really good fats. It's not rocket science. I think we try to make nutrition rocket science because there's so much out there that's so confusing. But eating whole foods that come from the earth and eating a caloric allotment that it allows you to stay lean that's the trick. And we can go into this for like 10 hours. I want to move on to segment 4 and segment 5, but Trish, I'll get your take on nutrition and sleep for regulating your emotion.
Well, just really quick, it's an example that I have of my own personal life. I used to be one of those people that I would like go on vacation and I would be like, oh, I can eat whatever I want. It's vacation, like throw out all of the protein, whatever macros out the window. And then I would come home from my vacation and I would feel like crap, right? My body is disgusting. And then I just feel gross because I didn't nourish my body. My digestive system is all out of whack. And then all of a sudden I started to see this pattern of then I would start to feel sad and I would get depressed. And then I'd be telling all these stories to myself, like you gained weight or whatever it is to make me go down this downward spiral. So this is a tip to basically say like, that's the route that happens. Whether you tell yourself the same stories that I tell myself, they're probably different, but that's just what triggers I have that then tell myself negative stories that then put me in the spiral of downward depression. But if I stay on point with my nutrition and I still have whatever I want here and there, so I don't, completely get rid of everything, I'm keeping a more balanced, I guess, story that I'm telling myself because I feel better because I'm feeling myself better.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. I mean, nutrition and exercise is so tied into your emotional regulation. It's not even funny. It should just be like essentially the same thing. It is all one conversation, and all energy carries with it, which calories from nutrition is energy. All energy carries information, and that's what you're saying. And I love that. So let's put a pin in that one, and let's move on to 4 and 5. We're going to go back to antidepressants. I want to spend some time on that on number 5 because I do think there's a place for them. Like I said, I'm not going to demonize everything, although I will tell you my stance kind of straightforwardly. But number 4, the fourth strategy, this is a less obvious strategy. This is a less obvious one. What I've observed over my life is that when you're feeling sad or you're feeling depressed, the number one antidote is progress in your life, in something. And so many of us are depressed or depressive or have tendencies of depression or bouts of depression because we either don't aim at all, meaning we don't have a vision, we don't have any goals, we don't have an exciting, enchanting version of the future, or what I see so often, and this is where the quote that a lot of people use, comparison is the thief of joy, comes into play, or people aim way too high. You aim way too high and you set these huge, unrealistic, unattainable goals out of ego when really what we should be doing is making sure that we're setting lower, more humble, more attainable goals, still looking up, still wanting to make progress. I'm not saying don't set something that's, so attainable that it's actually not a goal at all, but something that's just above that baseline of where you're at today. Let me give you an example. So you're waking up every morning and what you notice is that every 3 days you forget to brush your teeth. Or there's people that do this. I know it's gross. But there's people, or how about this? You don't make your bed in the morning. Or you get up and how about this subtle one? You just leave your underwear on the floor. You just leave your underwear, you leave your clothes all over the house. Your stinky underwear is annoying your husband or your wife, and you're not doing anything about it. You're feeling sad, you're feeling depressive to the point where you don't even want to pick up the clothes off the floor. Because you're aiming at such high things in life or you're aiming at nothing at all. Like you either have no reason for existence, which is a very scary place to be, or you have such a high expectation of yourself that it's so unattainable and you know it deep down that you're so far from getting to the top of Mount Everest that like, what meaning am I going to find in taking the first step? I'm not going to get to the top of Mount Everest anyway. So why would I take this first step? This is number 4. Progress equals happiness. When you feel like you're progressing in your life, everything gets better. Happiness, or fulfillment rather, comes from this kind this sense of accomplishment, this sense of fulfillment, this sense of I'm making strides in my life. And some of us refuse to set our goals so low as to say, I'm going to brush my teeth every day. I'm going to make my bed every day. I'm going to pick up my dirty underwear off the floor so my husband or wife, stops getting annoyed with me. Sometimes, some of us, and this could be you right now, I need you to really examine and ask yourself this. Are you setting your goals far too high out of ego? Are you setting your goals far too high out of this unrealistic kind of personal truth that you have that isn't actuality at all? Meaning, are you 5'4" and are you 22 years old and are you fixated on being in the NBA? Well, if you're 5'4" and you're 22 years old, your chances of making the NBA are probably zero. And so if you're going to move through life with this goal of going to play professional basketball, and you maybe have been a really good high school player, but you just don't have what it takes to go to that next level. You might have played a little college, but you might have had somebody told you that you can make the NBA. You might have had a high level of self-esteem and self-belief, and you think that you can do it. But now you're 22, 23 years old, and it's not going anywhere, but you continue to have that be your goal. And then you're wondering why you're waking up and you're not making progress or you're being fulfilled in life, is because you have such a high goal that you're never going to get there. But most people just don't take time to think about their goal at all. That's what, when I come across individuals that are feeling depressive, they don't have a vision of the future that really ignites them. Okay, so I'm going to give you some homework. Are we ready? Ding, ding, ding. We need a homework noise, Chels. We need a homework noise. We're going to do the perfect day scenario here in a minute. Chelsea, don't let me forget this. I have a tendency to forget my homework. All right, don't let me forget this. We're going to do the perfect day scenario so that you can start to aim appropriately. Okay. If you were somebody who could set a goal that was manageable, like waking up and brushing your teeth, and you started doing that every day, guess what happens? You start to rewire neuroplasticity. You start to rewire the executive networks in your brain. And what happens is you start creating patterns that says, I'm a person who, when I promise myself I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I do it. And I have the ability to follow through. Even if it is something as subtle as brushing your teeth, the brain and its circuitry and its rewiring knows no difference between the progress and the fulfillment that you feel from making these small promises to yourself versus these large promises to yourself that can't be fulfilled. If you're sitting around all day, every day, waiting to be happy because of this thing that you want to achieve in your life, preaching to myself, then you're probably going to end up in a depressive state. If you reset your goals and reframe your daily vision to, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do one thing that helps me become a better person today, like exercise is my favorite one. If you wake up and exercise every day, watch progress in exercise become the tangible thing that you're convincing yourself of how good you are, meaning you're giving yourself confidence, you're getting progress, you're getting fulfillment, you're getting some momentum in life because of this one thing that, oh, by the way, also helps you reshape your state and your story and rewire your brain. You're talking about a superpower. You're talking about why movement is medicine, why all the drugs that you need in your body are in the chemicals that already exist inside of you that God bestowed upon human beings, because we've already got the power to solve our problems. We've already got the ingredients. We've already got the recipe. Now we just need the baker. We need the cook. We need you to make the decision to step into the gym, to do it, and watch the progress unfold. When progress unfolds and you get better a little bit every day, watch the happiness unfold. Watch the fulfillment unfold. And now you're talking about big wins, big momentum. So these small little wins, people, equals huge momentum when these daily insignificant or seemingly insignificant habits start to stack up. You're going to see a mass level of fulfillment. And I see this pattern in my life left and right if I'm looking for it. Don't you? Mm-hmm. Right? Don't you? That's a question I'll turn to you. Don't you see this pattern in your life? If you're looking for it already, even if you are depressed, aren't you somebody who's done good things? If you're fair to yourself, isn't there at least a vertical of your life in which you can say, oh yeah, DK, I've experienced fulfillment from progressing in this one vertical of my life. See, I can do this. And if I can do this, it just gives me a little crack in the door so I can kind of slip my foot in the door, and now we're partying. Okay, now I got some momentum. How does this show up in your life?
No, I hear everything that you're saying, and it's interesting because when I'm on this 5 steps and I had these small wins, I do feel a lot better. And I also was thinking about, and I know a lot of other people out here, procrastination is something that I was actually asking the interwebs if it's linked to depression, and depression can cause procrastination. But this is part of these small wins, is setting yourself these goals that are they're just small wins to get to the big goal, which is what we talk about at Burn Boot Camp all the time, is little milestones that'll then get you to your big goal. So now that I have more of awareness into this, I need to just remind myself that when I'm feeling in this deep state of procrastination and I'm just down in the dumps and I'm I'm not going to hit my deadline, whatever it is, the story that I'm telling myself, I need to, okay, let's just do one thing at a time. Let's write it down. Okay, cool. I did that. Great job, Trisha. Positive self-talk, right? And then go to the next thing. So I think that's hard for people to do if you haven't done it before. And it's taken me a lot of time to get there, but I do know that it works. It does. Whatever you're telling yourself, be your own cheerleader.
Okay. So we did the core values exercise. Do you remember the core values exercise?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So if you haven't done your core values exercise, I really need you to do your core values exercise, all right? Because if you don't have values, then you don't have a blueprint. Show me somebody without values, and I bet I can guess their personality.
Mm-hmm.
I bet they're skeptical. I bet they have a tendency to be depressive and sad. I bet they have disinterest in things that are good for them, and I can keep going, but you get the idea. But if I have core values, and now these values then become on paper the blueprint to who I am, how I navigate the world, what I say yes to, what I say no to. Now we're talking. Now I have a blueprint that actually is in my control, that is empowering me. So go back to episode 8, listen to the homework there. It was very simple. Here's what it is. Take 10 minutes on the left side of the paper, write down all the things that you value in life. Once you're done with 10 minutes, don't stop until you're done with 10 minutes. Then take 10 seconds, 30 seconds max to circle 3 things. Move those 3 things to the right side of the paper, write down a definition for them, start with 3 values, read them every day, and then build on it from there. When I first started, I had 4 core values, and I have maybe 6 now, and I actually just added a 7th last summer as Morgan and I sat down and we were getting more discernment on who we are and who we want to be. So do that exercise. Okay, then what we're going to do right now, this is going to be homework part 2, people. Are you ready? Okay, you're going to take your core values, those 3 things, and then you're going to write down all the actions. You're going to take 10 minutes and you're going to write down next to those core values all the actions that you did yesterday or the day before or the week before, or any actions that you can think of. Literally any behavior that you have, any actions or behavior that caused an experience in your life. And you're going to put right next to those core values, you're going to make 2 columns. You're going to make the check mark column, which is the good column, and you're going to make the X column, which is the bad column. And you're going to take 10 minutes and you're going to take an inventory of your actions. Okay? Where were you aligned to your core values? For me, one of mine's integrity. Where was I aligned with my integrity? Where was I honest with somebody when they really needed it? When did I tell the truth when it was easy to lie? Okay, when did I fib when it was easy to tell the truth? Right? You get what I'm saying here? Yep. You're going to take, only you know these experiences because they're contextual to your life. I want you to take the left side. I want you to take the right side, the check column and the X column, the good, the bad. And I want you to come up with instances, behaviors in which you have displayed those core values and then which you haven't displayed those core values. Okay? The side, the X's, that's what we want to work on. Okay, that's what we want to work on. I want you to actually go back and make those things right. I want you to go back to that conversation that you wrote down that I had no integrity with somebody. And I'm going to tell you a story to highlight this in a minute. I want you to actually have a conversation with them that says, hey, you know what? Remember that conversation a couple weeks ago that we had? Man, I have a core value of integrity, and the way that I spoke to you wasn't right. I've been thinking about it. I just wanted to tell you, woman to woman, man to woman, man to man, I apologize for that. That's not in alignment with who I am, who I'm trying to be, and I want you to know that I apologize. I've been thinking about that. You probably hadn't thought about it twice, but for my own well-being, my progress, my happiness, my emotional health, I wanted to make my relationship good with you. I wanted to tell you this. Okay, here's a live example. I do this all the time by default. This kind of exercise where I'm constantly categorizing my actions that were in alignment with my core values into actions that were misaligned with my core values. If you're doing a lot that's misaligned with who you are and who you want to be, you're likely going to be in a depressive mindset.
Yeah.
You're likely not going to be happy because you're misaligned with who you are, who you said you were going to be. So we were at Burn University number 92, by the way. Can you believe that, everybody?
Let's go.
Number 92. Burn University number 92. We bring an amazing group of franchise partners in. They're dynamic. They're loud. They have ideas. I love it. I go up to the SAC. This is on day 2, strength and conditioning assessment. We're all cheering our trainers on. We're all having some interactions. An FP, actually an operations manager of an FP, comes over to me and gives me kind of this zinger. They kind of give me this problem that they have with our national holidays and our marketing calendar, and they kind of give it to me in this way where it's like, why aren't you doing this thing that's really important to me? It's silly that you aren't doing it. And I reacted in a way which dismissed this person right away. I basically said, go out and get 500 members at your gym, and then once you do that, then I'll have room for your ideas. But until then, there's no net new ideas until you go out and you prove this, this amount of results. And then it's not that I won't have respect for you. I have nothing but love and respect for you. But if you want to give me the business ideas, let me, go prove it. I'm a disagreeable person, according to my big 5 personality traits. Don't tell me nothing unless you already got the respect and the results to prove that your intellect and the results that you've experienced in your life backs up this advice that you're giving to me. That's just how I'm wired. And so how I'm wired is in alignment always with who I want to be, which is where disconnection can come, and where this response came to this gal, this operations manager. And I dismissed her. I made her feel bad unintentionally. She kind of shrugged her shoulders forward. Her chin went to her chest. She just had a really thoughtful idea. She was just trying to share an idea with me, and I shut her down. And that was not nice of me. And I should not have done that. And so I thought, I know I shouldn't have done it because it was bugging me all day. So here's something smart for you to take down from today's podcast. If it continues to bug you, it's not in alignment with your core values. It's a very wise thing to have your core values on paper. Then it's very obvious to know when. So all the things that have X's probably bug you. And so I want you to do this homework, okay? Don't take this stuff lightly. This is your life. This is very serious. So now I write down these X's. I know that this interaction with this operations manager was when I was thinking about it. It was bugging me. I needed to make it right. The first thing I did when we got up the next day, we go to Lake Norman. We meet for a workout. It's pre-camp. Everybody's meeting. We're having fun. We're taking pictures. The first thing I said to this gal is I pulled her aside and I said, hey, I looked her square in the eyes. I put both of my hands, one on each side of her shoulder, so she knew that I was sincere. I looked at her and I said, hey, I just sincerely want to apologize to you because the way I made you feel yesterday, you probably felt terrible after our interaction. I'm the founder of this company, a visionary. All the interactions that you should have with me should be positive, optimistic interactions, even if they're honest and truthful and we disagree. The way that I handled our interaction yesterday was not good. I feel very bad about it. It actually was wrong. It's not in alignment with who I want to be, and I want to maintain my relationship with you. I understand that the trust that we have is all we have, so I apologize for that interaction. I sincerely am sorry. What I really heard you saying yesterday was that you care about this business so much that you had a great marketing idea, and I dismissed you and told you that you should be better before you come to me with ideas, which is anti our culture. And I apologize for that. And I wanted you to know because today I wanted to have a great time and be on the same page and clear the air with you. Is that fair? Do you accept my apology? And she said, DK, I wasn't even thinking about that twice, dude. I'm kind of like, what are you talking about right now? But it mattered to me. It mattered to me. It was against my character. And when you do a lot of stuff that's against your character and you do it for long enough, You start to shape the experiences and the interactions in your life. You shape the experiences. I'll show you the behavior. You show me the behavior. I'll show you what then becomes a personality after a long period of time. So I challenge you, Chelsea, Jordan, Trisha, listeners at home, know thy core values. If you're serious about listen, you listen to this podcast for one of two reasons. You're either in a terrible place. You're like rock bottom. There's nowhere to go but up. Or you're a high level achiever and you know there's a next level. Trisha and I will put pressure on you for days to change if you're in the middle. And if you're just content, you are not going to like us very much. Because I'm going to keep saying, oh, yeah, you don't like the way your life's turning out or you're discontent. Did you do the homework? Yeah. Did you write down the core values? Did you put your check in your X column? And do you understand how you come across? Are you doing the work? No, you're not doing the work? Then it's on you. And you're not going to like personal responsibility because you're content and you're in the middle. And so you might not like the podcast. Our podcast is for people who are low or people who are super high. You're going to get to the next level through these principles, or you're going to get up off the couch with these principles. If you're just happy, you're content, do your thing, boo-boo. Keep going. I'm rooting for you too. But you're probably not going to like us because we'll put a lot of pressure on you. So do this exercise. Take it seriously. This is not trivial. This is your life, so act like it.
Yeah. Wow. Like, mic drop on that. That was amazing. I think it all goes back to also what we talk about a lot is the tough love, right? Sometimes love comes in the form, and I'm looking at my core values right now. And a lot of times when I'm thinking about love, it does come in the form of tough love because I care so much that I want to help somebody when I can see things that they can't see in themselves. Because we can all do better, and we need people around us that can help us to do better so we can live our best life because we only got one shot. So let's do it the best we can.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're going to end. I'm going to give you guys my stance just on the balance between exercise and antidepressants. I really want you to know kind of where I stand on this. This is my own personal stance, my own personal belief. And, I want to help you regardless of where you're at, whether your beliefs align with mine or they do not align with mine, no matter what. I want to help you with this in where you're at. I want to help you get to the next level. So I hope that my stance is taken from that context and not meant to be controversial just for the sake of being controversial or anything like that. So what I did is took a head-to-head comparison of antidepressants versus exercise. And what I really wanted to do was look at that miracle growth factor, that BDNF. I wanted to look at that. And I wanted to look at the production of BDNF in exercise as opposed to antidepressants. So in antidepressants, the magnitude of BDNF in the chronic use of SSRIs and SNRIs, it does raise your BDNF. So I want everybody to know that antidepressants when you're taking them for the long term, meaning chronic use, they're going to increase BDNF or that miracle grow for your brain. But the effect is always moderate, and it's usually going to be confined to just areas of the brain, like Trisha's favorite area of the brain, the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, my favorite area of the brain. And it's going to typically take you some time, 3 to 6 weeks for these drugs to settle in, which mirrors this kind of anecdotal, observation that people are. It takes usually that long to feel something from an antidepressant. And then you look at exercise versus BDNF, the magnitude of exercise, especially in aerobic exercise, which is why we talk about Burn Boot Camp has 3 strength and 3 conditioning. Our conditioning days are for the heart and for the brain. This is the reason why when we're doing our HIIT training, when we're doing our body weight conditioning, we're going to produce a larger acute spike of circulating BDNF, okay? 50 to 200% above baseline. When? Now, right away. After a single workout, okay? Immediately, even after one workout, this regular training is going to produce long-term baseline increases in this miracle growth factor to your brain. The fertilization of the soil to your mind that allows your mind, it's really the ingredient that allows neuroplasticity, or to put it in layman's terms, the ability for you to change your mind, to do different things, to think different ways. BDNF is most impacted, significantly more impacted during exercise than during antidepressants. You guys follow me?
Yeah.
In fact, going back to our psychiatrist, there is if you go out and you look at the meta-analysis, meaning the studies that look across multiple other studies, you're going to see that BDNF or that antidepressants are slightly almost the same as the placebo effect. So an antidepressant in the long run and somebody who's on the placebo or just the hope of an antidepressant is actually so close that it's almost indifferential. But exercise is not even close. It's off the charts, okay? And this isn't my opinion. This comes from the world of literature and all the meta-analysis that I'm able to dig into. So when you look at them head to head, all right, obviously the exercise is going to increase the BDNF more robustly, more consistently than the antidepressants are going to. And antidepressants don't have a negative correlation or zero correlation, but exercise is much more impactful, much more immediate, and much more potent. Okay, so when you're looking at things side by side, I just want you to know that. I want you to know that this is why I say movement is medicine, that exercise is the best medicine, because when you regulate your state, your physiological state, everything in your life will get better. That is the one prerequisite. If you're feeling bad to feel better, move your body. Even if it's just a walk, even if it's just a run, it doesn't have to be a burn boot camp. It doesn't have to be on burn on demand. Just walking, just running, spiking your heart rate, doing 50 high knees in place when you're feeling sad will literally change your mind. It'll start to change your story, change your state, and ultimately change your personality and who you are as a human being. Okay?
When you were talking about Miracle Grow or whatever you were saying, I was thinking about the Chia Pet, and I was also thinking about what I talk to my kids about. So sometimes when they aren't drinking enough water, I always talk to them like, if you had a plant, you need to give your plant water. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, if you aren't moving your body, it would be interesting if you started to do these little things and if you journal to write down how you feel immediately after you do it. Because then you're actually writing it down and you're telling yourself, I feel better. So then you keep doing that. And that's those little milestones, those little progress that we said we need to make in order for us to actually create momentum and to actually feel better and to not feel depressed. So that's what was going through my head is like, if you actually started to think about how you're treating yourself, and then if you write it down, it then puts it into action.
Well, that is the meat of it for today. And I know we have to get to some meetings. So let's wrap up the discussion with the following.
Yes.
Do your homework. If you're serious about making progress, we're going to start giving you more and more and more interactive stuff here on the podcast so that we can achieve our goals, which is to make your life better and maximize the potential that you have as a human being. Start with your core values exercise, your check mark, your X, and then anything that comes into those X's. Spend 10 minutes. Write down all of the negative interactions that you've had that are in misalignment with your core values. Go fix them. Watch how you start feeling better right away from that, okay? We know exercise is medicine. We know movement is medicine. It's going to help rewire your brain. You know, we talked about BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, being the miracle grow that is abundant in your brain immediately and a large acute spike right after exercise. Sunlight is free and it regulates your hormones. It's going to make you feel better. Get out there. Nutrition and sleep obviously are so important to your mental state, your mental health. Following that circadian rhythm, eating and sleeping, waking up at the same time every day, finding little things, small wins in your life where progress can equal fulfillment that aligns with your core values, aligns with your actions. And if you are on an antidepressant out there, remember, if you're on an antidepressant without exercise, you're in it for the long run. We debunked the whole story and the marketing story and the mythology around antidepressants being to treat acute low serotonin, which has been disproven in 2022 by molecular psychiatry study. It's there. The information's there. If you are somebody who happens to be in this position where you're taking an antidepressant for the long run and you're not providing yourself the gift of exercise on a daily basis, my call to action for you is to start moving your body and make a plan with your doctor to get off the antidepressant in the long run. And with that, Trisha, give us our our close out of here, and we'll take it out like we always do.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you know someone who might be battling depression, sometimes I just need to hear it from someone else. So share this episode with them, because you might have had these conversations, but maybe it just takes them listening to Devan and him walking through the science of it all for them to start to make those little changes. So please share this episode. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We want to reach more people, and the way that we can do that is by you guys subscribing. So please subscribe to the Burn Boot Camp podcast on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, and drop us a DM. Let us know what you're thinking. We always love feedback.
2 claps on 2. 1, 2. Thanks, friends.